economy got you down? Don't know where your next meal's coming from? Don't worry, it might be in the garbage. With me is
Rob Greenfield,
the world's foremost dumpster diver. Been bicycling around the country, showing people what they're throwing away. Now, Rob, where's a good place to eat?
dumpster.
The dumpster.
Ethic about him. I mean, would you do all this just to bring attention to how incredibly wasteful our society is? Americans throw away about $165 billion in food a year. An incredible amount of food. Enough wasted food for the country to feed itself twice over. And here in Pittsburgh...
Economic growth in this day and age seems to be synonymous with increased waste. As developing countries strive to follow in the footsteps of modern developed countries, we have to take a step back and ask ourselves, what is economic growth? What does progress look like? As of right now, it seems to paint a picture of gross wastefulness and abundant material possessions. With Apple producing a new version of each product once a year or sooner, this is a pretty accurate representation of our current developed society. Material possessions accumulating at an ever-growing rate have to go somewhere. When we throw something away, most people don't think about where their garbage is going. As the paper we had to read for this lab states, the laws of thermodynamics outline the fact that something cannot be created from nothing, and therefore something cannot be turned into nothing. The throwaway society we live in needs a huge shock to the system for it to change. As Paul Gliding said in his TED video, our society often does not change until a widespread crisis is in process. Unfortunately, at this point, we cannot afford to wait for the crisis to find us. We must act before the crisis is upon us, as there will be no coming back from this particular crisis. Sweden has been incinerating garbage since 1940 and has seemed to almost perfect the process. Since the 80s, Sweden has reduced emissions from waste incineration about 90 to 99%. This option for waste removal may be the future, however it is not perfect, as ash riddled with toxins is still put into a landfill. To halt the encroaching environment takeover, humans need to alter their way of living, or every species, including ours, is doomed. According to the Convention About Life on Earth biodiversity website, at least 40% of the world's economy and 80% of the needs of the poor are derived from biological resources. In addition, the richer the diversity of life, the greater the opportunity for medical discoveries, economic development, and adaptive responses to such new challenges as climate change. Our decisions on how to utilize our resources has impacted our biodiversity significantly over the years and continues to do so. Why is biodiversity important in the first place? Nature provides services for free. Trying to replace, if possible, natural resources will be very expensive. So why not help conserve it while we have the chance? A healthy biodiversity offers many important benefits which humans take for granted. Techniques such as industrial farming produces 3 times the waste of which humans produce. This waste usually goes unprocessed and is unnecessarily destroying the rich biodiversity in the soils. Human activity has altered the global nitrogen cycle and has negatively affected the air, water, land, human health, and ecosystems, largely resulting from irresponsible application of nitrogen fertilizers. More than 2/3 of the atmospheric emissions of nitrous oxide arise from processes in soils. In turn, biodiversity is slowly being lost. With privilege comes responsibility. We were given the privilege to dominate this planet, which makes it our responsibility to preserve it and the diversity in our wildlife. The significant climate change has put animals such as the polar bear at great risk. Experts predict that 1/4 of Earth's species will be headed for extinction by 2050 if the warming trend continues its current rate. According to Diana Cox Foster and Dennis van Engelsdorp, Solving the Mystery of the Vanishing Bees, Scientific American, April 2009, humankind needs to act quickly to ensure the ancient pact between flowers and pollinators stays intact, to safeguard our food supply and protect our environment for generations to come. These efforts will ensure that bees continue to provide pollination and that our diets remain rich in the fruits and vegetables we now take for granted. Every species is crucial for our planet and performs its own vital role in ecosystem productivity. For instance, the honeybee is very crucial for agriculture. The honeybee is important for fertilizing food-producing plants and providing pollination. In order to sustain our resources for future generations, we must find alternative ways. Human activity has put the environment at risk and in turn put many species through suffering.
Currently, our population continues to grow and will continue to do so at faster rates. In fact, by 2050, it is estimated that there will be 9 billion people. This significant increase in the world's population will have a negative impact on the resources as they will be depleted at a higher rate. The prices of food, like corn, rice, and wheat, are expected to have a major price hike from 2005 to 2050. This will only lead to a greater number of people being at risk for hunger. The statistics of food deprivation based on 2010 to 2012 are that 870 million people in the world are suffering from chronic undernourishment, most of which live in developing countries. This value has since then decreased by 30% due to socioeconomic progresses made in undeveloped countries based on worldhunger.org. From this information, one can conclude that an increase in population will most likely cause the undernourishment factor to rise. Even in developed countries that have excess amounts of food, we can see that people are undernourished, as the main contributor to all of this is poverty. People do not have enough money to afford weekly or biweekly groceries. Another important thing that we need to be aware of is that developing countries strive to be like Northern and European countries, which are the primary contributors to waste. If the undeveloped countries become like developed ones, then the amount of waste on Earth will continue to increase tremendously. If we do not change who we are now, there won't be enough resources for everyone in the near future.
Although we are faced with the problem that we as humans are living beyond our means and relying on finite resources as if we have an infinite supply, this does not mean that there is no solution. Finding new and inventive ways of using waste products, such as a machine that turns feces into drinking water funded by the Bill Gates Foundation, is a way for us to not only reduce the amount of waste, but provide energy and clean water in the process. By doing this, it would decrease the amount of diseases present in the water currently being drunk in third world countries, as well as easy access to fresh water for everyone. 7 out of 10 people in Africa are farmers, yet their net corn yield is 5 times less than that of the United States due to drought and poor soil conditions. But we have the technology to develop better fertilizers and crops that are more productive, nutritious, and drought resistant. It's just a matter of doing it. With this, the farmers in Africa will be able to produce enough crops to feed their own country and won't have to rely on so much import. This won't only increase the overall food production and availability in the world, but it will also allow Africa to be able to feed itself. We are equipped with the means of saving ourselves. We just need to view these crucial issues as a big enough challenge worth putting the time into solving.